Okay. Show me.
Hi there guys, welcome back to the Dutch ST channel. Thank you very much for tuning in for a full review of the content of these two boxes from our friends from Runcam. These two boxes contain, FPV cameras. Yeah, and as you can see here, these boxes contain micro Swift 3 cameras. So micro cameras from the Swift family, which means these have CCD sensors, and Swift 3, and then version 2. Yeah, so the first gripe I have with these two cameras is the naming. There was a MicroSwift version 3 already, and this is the version 2 of that. You can see it in the fine print over here. MicroSwift 3 version 2. Long story short, they should have called this the MicroSwift version 4. Yeah, it is definitely a new, a different camera. It's not just a small iteration, it's a different camera. So they should have made things easy on them and on us by calling it the MicroSwift 4. Oh well, if that's the biggest gripe I have with these cameras, it's all good, right? So why do I have two of them? Well, it comes in actually 4 versions. You can choose between PAL and NTSC, and both of mine are PAL cameras. And you have a choice between 2 lenses, the 2.1mm and the 2.3mm. And obviously the 2.1mm has a bigger field of view, a wider field of view. And I will be using this one, the 2.3mm, on a 7-inch quadcopter. So a quadcopter with which I won't be flying proximity, close to things. Right? And this 2.1mm version I'll use in a 5-inch racer, in which I want a bigger field of view, obviously. Okay, what we're gonna do in this video, we're gonna take a quick look at what you actually get for your money, so what comes with these cameras. We're gonna compare it with my Runcam Eagle 2 Pro, which is my reference camera, the best FPV camera. Well, that's arguable and a bit subject to personal taste, but it's a very good camera, and I use it as a reference for all my camera tests. So also in this case, I'm gonna compare it in 3 scenarios: in a sunny day, in an overcast day, and indoors. And after that, I'm gonna screw one of these cameras, I'm not sure which, but well, you'll see at the end of the video. I'm gonna screw one of these into a quadcopter, and we'll do some actual flying with it, which is what the cameras are intended for, of course. So let's get cracking. Hartstikke, this is what you get for your money. You get a wire harness, more on that in a second. You get the camera, yeah, okay. This is the 2.3mm version, over here. So the slightly more narrow, if you will, version of the two. You get a bracket with which you can transform this camera into a full-size camera. So if your frame only accommodates full-size FPV cameras, you can slide the camera into this frame over here. And now you can mount the camera into a, for instance, a 5-inch frame. If your frame only accommodates full-size cameras. And you get a selection of mounting screws over here. Now, a couple of side notes to this. You do not get a control board. If you want to set up this camera, to change the settings of the camera with an external control board, you'll have to order that separately. Again, they expect you to already have one. And in a lot of cases that's actually true. If you have more than one quadcopter, or maybe you've damaged an FPV camera at some point, as we all do, you might already have that control board. So, well, nowadays they don't ship every camera with a control board, and this is a camera that doesn't come with a control board. Again, if you want a control board to hook up to the back of the camera, to the to the last 2 pins, I think. Yeah, to the last 2 pins. You can order that separately. Now what they actually expect you to do is use this wire harness. Obviously hook that up to the rear of the camera like so. And solder it up to a UART on your flight controller for Runcam flight controls. I'm not sure if you've heard of that, but nowadays you can change the settings of your FPV camera via your flight controller. And to be honest, I don't really like that, but that's a personal thing. I don't want to give up a UART for my camera controls. So personally I prefer the method of having an external control board, joystick board thing. And well, the nice thing is that the camera can be set up with an external control board, a joystick board, but you'll have to already have that, obviously. And what more can I tell you? Yeah, like in all Runcam cameras, the cabling is nice and subtle. It is silicone wrapped, this cable, so it doesn't snag on things all that easily. These kinds of cables can't be scorched or melted. So yeah, a quality cable for a quality camera, I guess, right? In lower budget, on cheaper cameras, you often get stiff plastic wrapped cabling. This is a lot handier to work with. Now, before I compare this camera to the Runcam Eagle 2 Pro, there's one last thing I'd like to show you. This over here is the Runcam Racer 2. You might have seen videos about it. This is also a new camera by Runcam. And you might have expected that the casings of these two cameras, both micro cameras, both new cameras, would be the same or very similar. But the casings are actually very dissimilar. Side profile. As you can see, the casings of these two cameras are completely different. The Racer camera is more or less completely enclosed as well. It's a shot box, so to speak. And whereas the Swift has this, well, plastic thingy screwed onto the back, and it's, well, it's kind of open over here. Moisture could get in. So why on earth do we have two micro cameras from Runcam, new micro cameras from Runcam, that look completely dissimilar? Why is that? Well, I'll tell you why that is. This over here is a Racer camera, and where you'd generally see these cameras wind up is in, for instance, 5-inch racers. Yes, in a 5-inch racer you could use a full-size camera, but why would you? Right? This is lighter and takes up less space, so why not use a micro camera? But in a racer you do have the extra room for the casing of this camera to be a little bigger, right? So I guess that's why they opted to enclose this Racer 2, which makes it slightly more of a secure camera. If you run into moisture, this casing will protect the camera better. So, and actually the weird thing is that this Racer, I'll do a separate video on that, is slightly lighter than this Swift 3 version 2. That, well, amazes me, but okay. Okay, so next thing we'll do is compare the Swift 3 version 2 with the full-size Eagle 2 Pro. Here we go. Alright guys, in a couple of minutes we're gonna do a flight, a real live flight with this Runcam Swift 2 version 3, and I'm gonna tell you what I think of the camera. Right now I'm gonna show you 3 scenarios. You are watching at the first one right now, and I'm gonna take it from progressively easy, which this is, sunny day, right, that's easy for any camera, up to very, very hard. The second scenario will be a overcast, cloudy day. So yeah, then you should really see the difference between the two cameras. And the last one is indoors, outdoors. So I'll be cycling in a parking garage, but you can also look outwards, which is kind of a horror scenario for any camera. And we'll see how these two cameras compare. And well, you can clearly see that on your left you see the microshift, and on your right you see the Runcam Eagle 2 Pro, my reference camera. And this will be a couple of, well, 2 minutes per scenario, so not super duper long. And I'm just gonna have you make up your own mind. After this, we'll take the camera out for a real life flight. Alright, after those side-by-sides you probably have a pretty good idea about the performance of the Runcam Swift 3 version 2, or was it 2 version 3? the new Runcam Micro Swift. And I now have it in this enormous quadcopter. This is the Gap RC CL7 Crocodile, a long-range high-speed FPV quadcopter. Now, it actually already had a Micro Swift, but a version 2. And basically there's nothing wrong with the version 2. I simply replaced the camera because the angle of view of this camera is more or less the same as the HD camera I run on this quadcopter. So, well, slightly more convenient for me. Let me switch to a test flight I did with this combination. And while you watch my fumbling around with my Crocodile quadcopter, let me tell you what I think about the Runcam Micro Swift cameras, or maybe even all Runcam Swift cameras. I simply love them. I have a lot of them, and I have had a lot of them, and as you can see, the color rendition of these cameras and the clarity and such is just great. It's pleasant to fly with the Runcam Swifts. That's the main reason I use them. Yeah, obviously you also want to see where you're going. That's also important, but I also want a, well, a pleasant looking FPV feed. And well, I think the Runcam Swifts are the best cameras for that. Now, also, and you will have seen that in the comparison, the Runcam Swifts aren't the best in challenging conditions. Right, indoors in adverse weather, these days you are better off with a modern racing FPV camera. Right? You probably know this. But if you want to FPV fly an RC airplane, or like me with this high speed, not indoors, not proximity flying quadcopter, I think the Runcam Micro Swifts are the best choice there is. So especially if you are new to the scene, you can't go wrong with the Runcam Swift. That's my opinion. And if you disagree, then I invite you to a discussion down in the comment section below. If you are left with questions, also hit me up a comment down below. I'll be happy to answer you, and I'll leave you with the rest of this flight. Catch you in the next video. Bye bye.